Noisy Pixel.
If you told me 20 years ago that old Muppets movie from the 80s called The Dark Crystal would one day become a tactics RPG, I would probably laugh while walking out of the room. Well, here we are, and here we have The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics. The game aims to capture the series in a new and exciting way. However, there are a few missed opportunities that I felt could have made this a more enduring adventure. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics is very much a tactics game, but it also has a story to tell. The narrative follows Ryan, who has just witnessed a terrible act committed by the Skeksis, which sparks a war. The story led the first few battles of the game as Ryan gets allies and spreads the word of what happened. While there is a primary mission, players can also take on submissions, which open up smaller pockets of narrative and gives insights to the other characters. For example, some tasks are locked until you have a specific character that side mission focuses on. Fans of the series will know these characters well, as they are each from the series. What the game gets right is the fan service. It's a shame that they couldn't get the voice actors to reprise their roles, as cutscenes are simply auto-played text boxes that make the more emotional moments feel extremely weak. Interestingly, things move incredibly fast for this adventure as players make their way across Thrall and re-experience the events from the Netflix series. The list of playable units grows as the narrative progresses. Depending on the race of the unit, you'll have access to a job class tree unique to that race. As units participate in battle, they'll gain experience for the primary job class that they have equipped, with a secondary job class available for a variety of different possible units. These units are meant to work together, with elements such as scouts being able to mark enemies, which opens up greater skills used by the more offensive characters. However, the menus can be pretty confusing to find your way around. It seems they've spread character features across multiple menus, which I would have preferred one screen containing a character's equipment and skills instead of having to go back and forth between various screens just to customize a unit. This is something that has to be done a lot since characters seem to learn new skills for every few battles. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics has some thoughtful and well-designed environments that can even be used against your opponents. Players can do actions like knock back enemies into poisonous plants or rely on environmental obstacles that can change the layout of the battle. The game attempts to mix things up during missions and not just have players clear the screen of enemies. Objectives such as interacting with several switches or leading 3 units to a point make battles a bit more interesting. Typically, during fights, units gain experience by taking down enemies. However, in this title, experience is given after the battle takes place. I would have preferred the former means of gaining experience because units increasing level during a difficult fight always makes for an excellent strategy. Still, this design choice never hindered my overall experience of the game. Levels are kept relatively small, which makes the battles go a bit quicker. This makes sense given that this is a game for Dark Crystal fans, but those fans might not be fans of tactical RPGs. The developer keeps this in mind in many aspects of the game's mechanics. There's some deep strategy to be found during encounters, and after clearing the story, you'll unlock a higher difficulty. I appreciated this approach and applauded the developers for creating a title that is accessible as it is entertaining, no matter what kind of fan you are going into it. My issues with the game are minor and revolve around the general pacing of the story. Everything feels like it's on speed here. For a tactical adventure, I wish more time was spent on either the story or the actual fights, but it always felt like I was being rushed to a new point. This made it difficult to feel attached to the characters or their adventure, which turns out to be a substantial setback for the enjoyment of this game, and hurts a game that features some emotional moments of storytelling. The soundtrack for the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics is impressive and features many of the songs that fans will recognize. However, the noises that characters make when they get hit can get rather annoying and repetitive. I still wish the voice actors were able to reprise their roles, but I found most of the character animations to be decent. I was mostly surprised by the little touches included, such as the unique animations for status effects and individual moves. The The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics ends up doing just enough for fans of both the Dark Crystal and fans of tactical RPG. It has some unique features that allow it to stand out when compared to other titles available. Sadly, the developer opted to keep up the pace of this adventure, which means you'll continually feel rewarded, but you won't have an attachment to the characters or their story. While I wasn't a fan of the menu system, I did find an appreciation for the unique character customization options across each class. This ends up being a quick and easy tactical RPG to satisfy any cravings that you might be having. Noisy Pixel is giving the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Please read the full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our future content.